All right, well, it's a long drive home, and I'm definitely paying attention to the road more than I care about this video. But for brevity's sake, I want to give you guys some content. I've been testing out the Klinger Holsters Comfort Cling. It's a friction holster, kind of like the DeSantis and Sticky holster, and I've been putting it through its paces, checking it for overall comfortability, ease of the draw, and durability. Now, durability is a long-lasting test. I'm going to be carrying this every day, probably for the next month at least, and seeing if there's any signs of wear and how the overall comfortability changes over time. And it caused me to think a little bit more about holsters in general for concealed carry especially, and what do I consider the key elements that you should be considering when you're choosing a holster. All right. Now, they say opinions are like assholes. Everybody has one. All right. And if we apply that to gun holsters, a lot of them are smelly too. And I think it's important to know that the most important aspect of choosing a holster is to try it out and to build it based on your comfortability level. Now, for instance, my first holsters were probably from Walmart. They consisted of clips and that really shitty nylon exterior and a snap on the back, right? And they weren't comfortable to carry, and they were pretty heavy, and they were bulky, so they caused like pain in my back and when I would appendix carry, and it just wasn't pleasurable at all. And then I thought about the logistics of, if I have to pull my gun out in a defensive situation, is that snap going to help me or hurt me, right? And then they started to produce Kydex holsters and these friction holsters, and I jumped on board to try those out. And I've probably, in the course of the last 4 or 5 years, have gone through maybe 10 different holsters, trying to just pick and choose exactly what I want. Now, my opinion does not really matter when it comes to gun holsters. Your opinion does. And all I'm trying to do is guide you through what I find the most effective elements to think about when you're buying one and when you're testing them out, to curtail them to your specific needs. Some people prefer carrying their weapon in a bag or backpack. Some people in a bra. Some have a garter holster. Some carry them in their boot. And each one of those different types of scenarios really affects the kind of holster that you want, and also the overall availability of what you get. Okay? And with that being said, the first and foremost is, if you're not carrying daily and you have a CHL or LTC in Texas now, right, a concealed carry permit, if you're not carrying every day, then you're not carrying enough. And the reason I say that is because you won't need your gun until you actually need it. And if the reason that you're not carrying is the logistics of your holster and how comfortable it is, then you either need to change your gun or you need to change your holster. Sometimes people go even as far as to change their wardrobe to support being able to actively engage their weapon if they need it, and that's perfectly fine, but it really depends on where you're at, what you're doing, and if you have that kind of leeway. But I will say, I at first did not carry every day. I was definitely a fair weather carrier for a good amount of the time that I originally had my CHL. And when I started getting into the friction holsters, it made a large difference. It was easy to carry, it was comfortable to an extent, and it didn't pose a lot of logistics issues for me personally. Then Alien Gear released their Kydex hybrid that has the plate in the back that distributes the weight. It's a 2-clip system, and it's Kydex insert, and that made it a whole lot easier. I started carrying every day as soon as Alien Gear became part of my purview. I've had other holsters in between, and I'm testing out this clingy holster because I think that I'm able to properly assess whether it's going to work for me, and if our viewers are going to like it as well. But the the durability factor is my largest contingency right now, and I'll digress from that because it's really more about the essentials, right? So carry every day. If you can't carry every day, then something's wrong. If you don't want to carry every day because of comfort, it's either your gun or it's your holster, or sometimes it's your wardrobe. So figure those things out. The next is when you find a holster that helps you facilitate carrying every day, you're going to want to fine-tune your experience, right? Some of those things have to do with placement. I have a belly. Appendix carry does not work so well for people with big bellies, unless you like shit digging into you all day long. And if you sit at a desk like I do most of the time, that becomes a logistic problem. I oftentimes will carry maybe the 4.5 o'clock, but I mix it up. It often depends on whether I'm carrying a friction holster or like my alien gear. It'll be more like 2:30 to 3 o'clock. And sometimes I've also flipped it on the other side to do a cross draw. It really just depends on what works for you, right? But if you're carrying at like a 4 to 6, right? You want to carry gangster style in your butt crack, then you're going to worry about sitting a lot and if it's going to slide down, right? And if you're using a friction holster, if you're taking a leak or something, then you if you're carrying it at 6 o'clock, it might slide down your butt crack and it might go into your pants or whatever, or your shorts, or God forbid, fall on the floor in front of everybody. That's a problem, right? You got to think about those things, and you will fine tune every aspect of your carry experience in order to increase consistency. If there is one thing that you need to remember about concealed carrying, it's that anything that detracts from your ability, not your choice, but your ability to carry every day and be comfortable with it, you got to change something up. All right? Now, what I would also say is, like, when I got in the alien gear, I love the draw on it. I love the way that it distributes the weight of the gun across the two clips and a wider area, and I also love that it pads my body against the rough edges of the gun. Perfect, right? I will say that the stiff clips are a pain in my ass. I wear a belt, and I wear it in shorts and slacks and in jeans, and I will say that every single time those clips are a pain in my ass. All right, now you get good at it after a while, but like when I first started adopting the alien gear as my daily carry, I honestly didn't know if I was going to give it up or not. I tried it out for probably about a week, and it turned out that I kind of got the hang of the clips, and it made more sense the more I wore it. And it was just an aptitude thing, and actually getting down to the muscle memory and semantics of putting it on and removing it. So you got to think of those things. Those make the difference on whether you carry or whether you don't, psychologically. I can go into the entire echelon of whether you are comfortable with using your weapon in a defensive situation from your holster, but the first thing you got to worry about is your holster, is how you carry, how comfortable it is, and once you do that, you worry about, can I get it out in time? And those are some of the fine-tuning logistics of a holster that you need to think about as well. For instance, this Klinger holster, and this will come up in reviews later on, I feel that it gets a really good trigger guard on it, and it fits very nicely into the holster. However, when it's in the waistband and I'm going to draw it, I have no place for my thumb because it grips so well. So when I'm going to grip it, I have to pull with my 3 fingers on the handle of the gun in order to acquire a proper seat in my hand at the time that I'm pulling it up, right? And that to me is a little bit of a discomfort, right? I have to know that exists. You have to be able to practice with your gun, and you have to know what the learning curve is for those holsters in order to be able to acquire target quickly in a defensive situation. It's another element of understanding what's in front of you that keeps you from being able to protect yourself and protect others. All right. So one is carry daily. Anything that gets in the way of that is something that needs to be corrected. The other is that you need to fine-tune how you present your gun in a defensive situation and how quickly you're able to acquire target. After that, it becomes more of the logistics of shooting, especially in a stressful situation. A lot of people do not prepare for that. They don't prepare for the fact that you're going to have an adrenaline rush. You're going to be confused. Sometimes the sight picture is in an active shooter situation. The sight picture and what is your target when you're defending yourself might not be very clear, right? If you're fumbling to get your gun, that affects every chain of event after that. And so the holster is very important. It is the bread and butter of being able to carry and to be able to protect yourself. So, think about those things. Think about the logistics of how you draw, how easy it is to gain access to your weapon in its entirety and have it seated correctly so that way you can aim and shoot when you need to. All right. The position of your holster also greatly affects your ability to carry, and also mentally to know that your weapon exists on you, but it's not a hindrance on you, right? I will say with this Clinger holster, the comfort friction holster, right? The padding is super great. I mean, I love it. It is a lot cushier than DeSantis. It feels good in most every way, but it creates a little bit more pressure on my sciatic nerve when I carry it at the 4 or 5 o'clock, right? Anywhere in that range from 3 to 5, you're pushing against pressure points and nerves. I wouldn't say that it's a humongous detractor because it is cushy, but I know that if I am carrying it for a long day, if I'm out for 12 or 14 hours and I'm sitting most of the time, it does make a difference. It does make it a little bit sore. I can feel it a little bit at the end of the day. So be aware that ergonomics and how it affects your pressure points is going to make a large difference on whether that is going to set you up for failure or success in the long run. It's just something to think about. I'm not saying that the Sticky or the Clinger holster or Alien Gear or DeSantis or any of those other models or brands are going to make you lose a gunfight, but you want to give every possible chance that you can of getting out safely of a situation like that, and your holster is where it starts. Placement is another consideration. Do you get a shoulder mount? Do you carry appendix? Do you carry like I do on the 3 to 5 o'clock? Do you cross draw? Do you have a backup gun that's in your either a leg harness or in your boot? Do you bra carry? Do you carry in your purse? All those things affect what kind of holster that you're going to choose. At this point, I think that I've covered the basics that you really want to be thinking about actively and fine-tuning your experience, because the element number one is if you don't carry daily, you should be. Anything that gets in the way of that, you got to change it. So think about those things. If you have any comments, feel free to shoot them down and we'll answer them. But think about those things, and if you have any recommendations for things that we can review in the future that kind of align with my thinking on what a holster should be, definitely give it to us, and we'll do reviews as much as we can. Thank you.